With that, India are into their second consecutive T20 World Cup final and now just one win away from becoming the first ever team to retain their title. But before they do that, in the game versus New Zealand, we're going to look at this particular victory versus England. By the way, beating England in a semi-final is a great sign for the Indian team, because this was the third time both these teams met at this stage of the T20 World Cup. And what has happened on previous two occasions? The team that won that semi-final went on to win the title. So that, as I said, is a great sign. But great signs won't alone help India retain their title. They'll have to look at a few other areas. That is something that we'll look at in our match report. But first, let's just look at India's victory as a whole. It's a 7-run win. Winning a semi-final will always bring a lot of relief, but not quite on this occasion. Why? Because India got a massive record-making 253-run total on the board, which is the highest ever in a knockout game of a World Cup. Yet, England came within touching distance, 1-6 away from taking it to the super over. Where is it that India won this game? There are three standout performers that come to my mind, and we're going to touch upon their performance one by one. Jasprit, Bumrah, Axar Patel and Sanju Samson. Let me start with Jasprit Bumrah. And Jasprit Bumrah's contribution can be best summed up from that picture that we saw at the end of the game, where Ishan Kishan is saluting Jasprit Bumrah. Why is he doing that? If you look at Jasprit Bumrah's figures, he's just picked up 1 wicket and given away runs at about 8.5. And then you say, why? Why is it that he stands out? Because you ask me, and I'll say he was the difference between India winning that semi-final and losing that semi-final. Imagine on a pitch that was a belter of a track, on a pitch where no bowler could be able to put any sort of pressure on the batter, on a pitch where bowlers who had been in good form in this tournament, from Sam Curran to a Jofra Archer to a Will Jacks, all of them went for runs, to even Indian bowlers like Arshdeep, Varun Chakravarti, all being plundered for runs. Jasprit Bumrah, in that tense scenario, bowls the 16th over and gives away just 8 runs, bowls the 18th over and just gives away 6 runs. That, to me, is superhuman sort of an effort. That's why I say pure numbers, 1 wicket, economy of 8.5 doesn't seem that impressive, but in the context of the game, and remember, he was asked to bowl the tough overs, that 7-run gap. Definitely, you replace Jasprit Bumrah, put another bowler. England are chasing that down, that world record total down. That was the contribution of Jasprit Bumrah, and he goes about his business as if he's done nothing great, is also something that makes him the bowler that he is. So for me, the difference between a win and a loss in the semi-final was that man, Jasprit Bumrah. But that's not to say that they weren't other contributors. Let's talk about Axar Patel. I know there was this one game, a very historic game between India and Pakistan that was played in Sharjah, where Sunny Gavaskar got the man of the match for taking, I think, 4 catches or 5 catches, I can't remember, but 4 or 5 catches, very important ones at that, and he got the man of the match for that. I think if there was another contender for man of the match, Axar Patel could throw his hat into the ring, and for good reason. He took 3 catches, 2 out of those absolute stunners. Absolute stunners. See, we will talk about this game and I'll get to Sanju Samson's inning, but there was a stage where Sanju could have been caught. Harry Brook drops that catch. From there on, Sanju gets 89. Had Harry Brook taken that catch, who knows where the game could have gone, right? Catches win matches. That's why I go back to Axar Patel. Axar didn't just take any catches. He took arguably 2 of the best catches that we've ever seen. 2 of the best catches surely in this tournament. I know the ones that will make the headline, the one on the boundary that he caught and then relayed it back before he went out of the boundary, falling down to a Shivam Dubey, and that catch was completed. Aesthetically, that looks the best. Many are comparing it to Suryakumar Yadav's catch, and sure it is on that level in terms of athleticism, yes. But I think even the tougher catch was the one where he got Phil Salt out of the bowling of Hardik Pandya, where he has to run back and then take that catch. Ask any good fielder, technically that was a tougher catch to execute. Those 2 catches, he's taken 3 in total, absolute stunners. And then again, any one of those catches not taken, the game could have been different. That's why I say another contender. And then contender number 3, the one who got the man of the match. And of course, he also deserved that man of the match in Sanju Samson, getting those 89 crucial runs. And what do I say about Sanju? You know, we always knew of Sanju Samson, the aggressive batter, Sanju Samson, the stroke maker, Sanju Samson, the sweet timer of the ball. These were all qualities that we associated with him for the longest time. But you know what we saw of Sanju in this particular inning, and to an extent, the innings that we saw versus West Indies, was the fact he's added another couple of facets to his game. One is consistency, because that was something that was missing from his game previously. We were all in awe of his batting all the time. Used to always say that such a talented batter. But consistency was missing. Now he's played 2 back-to-back stunning knocks. So he's brought in consistency. And the other thing that he's brought about is his game awareness. I think, you know, today, apart from playing those brilliant strokes that he always does, his game awareness. He knew exactly when to attack, when to then, make changes to the strike, rotate strike. He did that perfectly. Knew exactly where to take those chances, where not to take chances. Some of those boundaries weren't just blatant hitting that he would do, but great placement of the ball as well. So this facet of game awareness was incredible. And that actually, takes me to another point. We've been critical of India's tactical errors previously. We blamed the team management that tactically they were found wanting. The South Africa game reminds me of another game which they lost in this tournament, where they were tactically completely off that particular day. This day versus England, spot on, especially in terms of batting. The way they rotated their batting, always having a left-hander, right-hander, then assigning role to each batter, who's going to take on which particular bowler. And that's what I like. There was a moment where Shivam Dube, Sanju Samson were batting. Sanju, when he was in a good flow, he attacks every bowler. But what did he do? Game awareness. Adil Rashid was bowling. He said, fine, I'm not going to take a chance here. Shivam Dube has been sent exactly for that. Shivam Dube, he would take a strike even though he's in good form, seeing a ball like a football, but Sanju, game awareness, did not take a chance. Take a single, give it to Shivam Dube. Shivam Dube attacked the spinners. Fast bowlers would come, he would take a single, get Sanju Samson back. So again, game awareness, tactical planning in terms of their batting rotation, sending Dube higher up, knowing when to attack when. Slower balls, something that did very well against Indian batters previously. They came prepared this time how to tackle it. Tilak coming lower down the order, batting in the gear that he did. So overall, you have to also compliment the Indian team for adjusting the way that the situations told them to, the way the opposition told them to, the way that particular conditions that were available at the Wankhede told them to. And that is a sign of a smart team. And then, just on Sanju Samson's knock, another thing, we knew Jofra Archer, Sanju Samson is going to be the matchup. And Jofra Archer has always had the wood over Sanju Samson. Today, he bowled a slower one, dispatched it over the boundary. Quicker one, bowled at almost 148, dispatched it over the boundary. This Sanju Samson had made up his mind. He's going to attack his nemesis in Jofra Archer and show who's the boss. And that's exactly what he did today. I know at the end of the day, this 7-run margin may not please a lot of people and the fingers would be pointed at the bowlers. But let's not forget the larger picture. I think the bowlers were up against the conditions and not everyone is a Jasprit Bumrah. As I said, England bowlers also went for plenty of runs. And the most important thing, let's not forget that. What was the talk before this game was played? Any team that toss is going to be crucial. Any team that chases is going to win the match. Let's not forget in all of this, India actually batted first. They batted first, which at that moment was considered you're done and dusted, and has still won the game. From 2014 to now, I was seeing every knockout game of the T20 World Cup, team chasing has won. Only 2 times team batting first won, both times India, but those were day games. So India also did the unthinkable. With due around the Wankhede, a chasing ground, they batted first and have still won this particular encounter by a margin of 7 runs. And that says a lot for the Indian team. That doesn't mean there aren't problems. I think Abhishek Sharma, Varun Chakravarti, two players that will be discussed for some time to come ahead of that final. My thought is, I'm not the one for too many changes, but I think I said it even before the semi-final that I'll be tempted to change Abhishek, not because he's not a talented batter, but I just think he's not in the right frame of mind. Today as well, he had got 2 boundaries. Did he need to play that shot? And it's okay if you play aggressive shot and get out, or you try to time a ball, it goes straight up in the air and you get out. I understand that an aggressive batter, high risk batter will go through it, but I think he's not in the right frame of mind. They lay a trap for him, the opposition, and he falls straight into the trap. Two fielders, they keep knowing fully well these are the shots he's going to play, and then he falls into the trap playing exactly those shots. That's where game awareness is lacking, and that is what worries me. It's not that he's not talented. I think right now he's not thinking straight. There's a fielder there exactly for that shot. And any batter, any international level batter will say, okay, these 2 shots I'm going to avoid in the power play. There's so many other shots I can play. Let me collect those runs there. I will not do it. But he's doing it repeatedly, and that's not a great sign. So for the all-important final, New Zealand is a tough team. If you can improve your team slightly more by removing an Abhishek, maybe opening with Sanju and Ishan, bringing Rinku lower down the order, it's not a bad option. I would be looking to explore that. Varun Chakravarti, the other concern. I know it's not an easy decision. Number 1 T20 bowler. How do you drop him? He has been your X factor for the longest time, but now there has been a good 3-4 games where he's been found wanting. He's been taken to the cleaners. So it's going to be a tough call. Do you bring a Kuldeep? Do you stick with Varun Chakravarti? On that, I'm a bit split. It'll also be risky to bring in a Kuldeep, but also risky to stay on with Varun Chakravarti. If I'm really, you put a gun to my head and ask me to make a choice, it's a big final. I probably will bring in a Kuldeep Yadav. He played that one game versus Pakistan, looked good. I know different conditions. Ahmedabad will be different, but I would be tempted. Bigger ground. I like a bowler who can loop it a bit more. I might be tempted to bring in a Kuldeep Yadav for that final. And finally, before I wrap up, I'm going to talk about the 2 performers that stood out apart from Jasprit Bumrah. Sanju Samson, Axar Patel. For Axar Patel, I suggested that, that fielding medal tradition that you used to have, probably after this performance, name that fielding medal after Axar Patel. Call it Axar Patel Award of Excellence, if you like. And for Sanju Samson, the standout feature for me about his batting today was that the calmness that he displayed on the crease was inversely proportional to the carnage that he caused on the field to England. And that, I think, was the hallmark of his innings. Give us a like on the video if you're enjoying our content, and don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today, because our continuous coverage of all things related to sports continues here 24/7.